Hey everybody, welcome in. Today it's just a quick video about how to prep your water for use with your microgreens. Now for optimal growth, your microgreens are going to want some water that is not only clean, but also free of chlorine and has a proper pH. I'm going to go into more detail on that here in just a second. But first, let's rewind and go over step by step exactly how easy it is to prep your water for your micros. Most of the time you'll be just fine using tap water as long as you take steps to get rid of the chlorine that's in it. The chlorine is there to keep the pipes clean, but it is going to inhibit the growth of your microgreens. This is for the same reason that it keeps the pipes clean. It's going to inhibit the growth of the roots as well as any of the beneficial soil microbes that are present in your soil or growth medium. That's a subject for a whole separate video, and I'm going to go over what they are and why they're so important for microgreens. A solution that's readily available is something like a Brita water filter or any other filter that's going to remove chlorine as part of its filtration process. If you don't have one of those, not to worry, you can still use your tap water. Just fill up a container and set it out on your countertop for about 24 hours or so. Be sure to leave it uncovered so all the chlorine will evaporate out, and there you go. You've got yourself some dechlorinated tap water. Now on to step 2, which is not nearly as scary as it sounds, but that's adjusting the pH. To do this, all you're going to need is some of that dechlorinated water we just made, a standard pH test kit, a lemon to bring your pH down, since usually your tap water's pH is going to be a little too high. In case you need to make corrections, we've got some extra dechlorinated water on reserve to bring the pH back up. If you have fancy pH adjusting solutions, you're more than welcome to use them. You just don't have to have them in most cases. Now take a look at this graphic right here. This thing is super cool because it shows you the nutrient availability at different pH ranges. The easiest way to explain this is that the thickness of the line represents how available that nutrient is to your plant. The thinner the line, the less available. The thicker the line, the more available. Of course, every plant and growing medium has its preferred ideal pH range, but as long as you're landing somewhere in the 6 to 6.5 zone, you'll probably be just fine. Also keep in mind with these hand test kits, they're limited to an accuracy of about 0.5 on the pH scale, which is close enough for what we're doing. The fact that you're getting your pH closer to the ideal range is going to give you some benefit versus leaving it wherever it is coming out of the tap. Optimizing your pH isn't just about nutrient uptake, you're also creating an optimal environment for your roots to grow, as well as those beneficial soil microbes that I talked about earlier. Again, gonna have a whole video about those coming up, so make sure to stay tuned. Now that we've got a little bit better understanding of why pH is important, let's take our bare essentials and let's check the pH of our dechlorinated water. You always want to start with everything as clean as possible. All I'm doing here is rinsing the test vial a few times just to make sure it's only the water I want to test inside the vial, because the small sample volume makes it really subject to fluctuation if there's any residue from old water or anything in there. You're going to want that test vial to be about half full or so. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Shake up your indicator to make sure it's mixed, and then you're going to add about 3 drops and see what color it changes. After mixing and letting it settle, we compare the color of the water in our vial to the little color guide on the side of the bottle, and it shows us that this pH is somewhere in the 8 to 8.5 range, which is too high or too alkaline. To bring that down, all we need to do is reach for that lemon we brought with us earlier and squeeze a few drops of that lemon juice into the water, which contains citric acid, and that's going to bring our pH down. The exact amount of drops you need to use is going to change based on your acid source, whether you use a lemon or an adjusting solution, and the starting pH of your water. After I'm confident everything is mixed and settled, I'm going to rinse out my vial a few times, fill it up halfway, and then I'll shake my indicator around and add a few more drops just like we did last time. Now right away I can tell that we've brought the pH of this water down significantly because it's got that more lime green look to it. So we're going to check our color reference chart on the side of the bottle, and you see how it has kind of like that dirty lime green look? That tells us the pH is right at about 6.5. And just like that, we made dechlorinated proper pH water for all of your soaking, watering, and spraying needs for your microgreens. Now, what if you mess up and you need to make some corrections? Your pH is just way too high or way too low. You could just throw the water out and start all over, but in most cases, you can adjust it and get your pH back into the normal range without having to dump your water. So just to demonstrate this, I am going to add way too much lemon juice to this cup of water here, and we're going to see if we can correct the pH. Standard rinsey rinse, and test the pH and see what we got. Right there we know that this water is way too acidic because it's got that red color, and it's actually too low for us to really know what it is. We just know that it's a pH of 4 or less, which is way out of range for our poor little microbes. Instead of using a special solution to bring the pH up, I'm just going to use something that I already know has a high pH, which is our tap water. So if you're going to do this, just make sure, of course, that it is dechlorinated. Mix well and let it settle. Be sure to rinse your vial per usual and test it and see what you get. It definitely looks like we're making progress back up towards our desired pH range, but once we let it settle, it's still a little bit too low. It's got that orangey color, so we're sitting right at about a pH of 5. Not to worry, keep adding more of your tap water or your pH adjustment solution until you get the pH that you desire. Starting to look pretty close to me. Of course, we'll mix it around and let it settle. But once we do that, it looks like we are right around 6 to 6.5. So whether you get it spot on the first time or you have to make a few adjustments, in either case, you're in that optimal 6 to 6.5 range, and you can now use this water for all of your soaking, watering, and spraying needs. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like, please hit the like button. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. And if you want to support me and see more videos like this and stay up to date, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.